Hello and welcome to Colleague 7 Sprint Review for 18.06.02. This will cover the work undertaken between the 12th of June to the 25th of June. So firstly our sprint goal, and for this sprint we continue to apply further Reddish cache updates to ensure optimal performance and to deliver the control shift options when handling multiple selections within search results. Looking at the high level items and to explain further, in this sprint, we've delivered further Reddish cache performance improvements to ensure optimal speed when using the system. In terms of performance improvements, we've seen the gains predominantly against the entity records, but this chart helps offer a basic overview before and after the changes. Moving on to the functional enhancements, and in this sprint we've delivered the control shift options in the search results area to help with multiple record selection. This will work similar to how you would select rows of records in a Windows application, and I'll demonstrate that shortly. We have introduced a new multiple selection custom field. This works similar to the custom lookup field, but you have the ability to select more than one option at a time. We've enabled click to dial as a button on all telephone numbers. Also, as part of this, there is a global setting which will act as a prefix to that setting, so it will allow you to update the link and integrate with other solutions if required. Again, I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. We now have a create diary option available on the diary page, and this will let you add diary entries and assign them against entity records in the system. And as a late entry, we added a last timesheet date field to the placement record. This is part of our V6 back office integration to cater for existing back office users. With this integration, it will allow front office users to run all their workflow via Colleague 7, taking the candidates through the standard recruitment workflows. And when the placement is at a second level authorization stage, it is passed over to a V6 database, also being held in the cloud, so it can be accessed by a back office user using version 6. At the point of creating a timesheet, a date field is then passed back to Colleague 7, ensuring that it cannot be unauthorized. We'll now go through a brief demonstration on the key features from this sprint. Okay, so the first point to cover relates to the control shift functionality that's been added to the search results area, and it was one of the key items and was part of our sprint goal. So what I mean by this is within the search results area of the system, when selecting rows, which you can do now from anywhere in the row, what you can do is obviously hold down shift, select a lower row, and obviously it highlight everything in between. So this has been essentially emulated from what you would expect when you're highlighting records within a Windows application, although there have been some limitations as part of putting it in place. This will work fine in the way that I've just demonstrated there. You can also hold down control and you can highlight individual records also. Obviously as soon as you click as an uncategorized click off rather than something that's been where you're holding down control or shift, as soon as you click away it's going to remove that highlighting as it would do with an application. But also you can obviously select these tick boxes as you could before to do a similar sort of check on that. With the select all, you've got the option there of the overlay will appear for advising that you're selecting or deselecting. That's just a little UI tidy up that we've put in place. But there are, as I say, a few things that we couldn't sort out. There are keystrokes that basically a browser doesn't allow us to respond to. So for example, if you highlighted a row, held down shift and used the up and down arrow keys, that won't highlight the records as you would want it to. That's something that we basically don't have the ability to emulate. Also the use of Control A as a select all mechanism, or the use of the home key, so shift and home or shift and end to do as another method of selecting all. Those are basically features that they don't translate to a browser interface in the way that we were trying to make it do so. But we have obviously been able to do it in the respect of the use of the mouse with point and click, holding down shift and control. So that offers a good set of functionality in terms of the ability to be able to manipulate these results. We've applied this to the search results area alone to begin with, but this has been implemented with a view to being applied to all tables where it's an option to select multiple rows. So selection screens, for example, is another key area that will need this functionality implemented, and we'll do that over the coming sprints. But that's the update we made there. The next point to cover relates to the multi-selection custom field, which has been assigned to all entities in relation to lookups. So what I mean by that is, so within the admin area here, when you go into custom fields, obviously you have your different custom fields, various different custom fields that you've assigned to records. What we have, if we go to create a new custom field now, is a new type of custom field, which supports multiple selection of a lookup. So you have obviously a lookup being a drop-down list of options. What you can now do is select multiple codes within that drop-down list as part of that field. So it's two different field types. One is obviously for single selection, where you just select one option, and now we have a new option here that's available for multiple selection types. So if I just cancel that off, what you'll see is against this, against the candidate entity, we've set up a custom field here that's a lookup multiple selection type. So if I just go to a candidate record just to demonstrate how this looks, so off custom fields here, you can see we've got this candidate multi-selection type here. If I just click on that, what that shows obviously is you've got a lookup code, and then obviously the option to select multiple different lookups within there. Now, depending on the number of lookups that you select, lookup codes that is that you select, will dictate what appears as the value within the field that's been displayed here. If you start selecting more than 3, for example, or getting into 4 or 5, it's just going to say 5 selected there. But if it's within an amount that allows for the descriptions to flow across the field, then obviously you'll get an overview of the actual selected values obviously within the field. And obviously that data is then retained against the field as those values that have been selected. In terms of searching, if we just quickly look at searching, we'll see how that works in terms of it appearing against a record and obviously it working in that regard. So what we can do here is obviously select individually the values associated with that selection field. It basically just works in the same way as another lookup code would. It would look on this on the basis of OR logic as opposed to AND. So it will select based on whether or not the value obviously is held within that field one way or another. But what you can then do is obviously view those values within the search results. So within the search result, obviously you can pull through that custom field and it will display within there the values that have been selected there as an option. So that's the update that we've made as far as the multiple selection custom field. The next point to cover relates to the click to dial feature, which has been added to all telephone numbers throughout the system now. So when I refer to that, what I'm saying is basically all telephone numbers will have this button to the right of the field, which when pressed will trigger the telephone protocol that's set up on the device to make a call out. So by default, how that will work is, as an example, if we click on this button here, it's going to launch my Skype for Business, and then obviously I've got it sat there basically ready for me to click that to dial out. In terms of how that would work in other scenarios or with other integrations, the way this has been set up, if I go to the admin area and just go into global settings quickly, under the section of system, what you're seeing here is two options, two new options that is. One is enable click to dial, which is obviously a yes or no option, and the other option is the click to dial prefix, with the default being tel. That's here. That's the default telephony protocol that's used for the majority of devices. So obviously the enable click to dial, if set to no, will ensure that no telephone icons appear against any of the numbers. It will be default to yes, but you can obviously switch that off if it's not a feature that you wish to use. And obviously the click to dial prefix, the default protocol will be tel, but you may have a bespoke solution. You may have a voice over IP telephony solution in place that requires a unique protocol or a different type of prefix option that triggers that telephone device to make a call out. So what you can do obviously is adjust this protocol to be whatever it is that you're using, and from that point, whenever you're pressing one of these buttons, it will launch that protocol, and then obviously plus the telephone number that you're calling out to. It's a bit of a roundabout way of just saying that you can bespoke this to other telephony solutions if you wish. But that's the update that we've made as part of the click to dial features that are now available throughout Colleague 7. The last point to cover relates to the diary area, and the fact that there is now a create diary entry option that's been added to the diary area now. So from within diary, top left, you've got this option here of create diary entry, which you can click on, and this allows you to simply link a record. So you can look up any record. This will function as if you were doing a quick search. So you can look up a record, select that record, and obviously that then come through. You can make any kind of subject selection, same as you would do if you were creating a diary entry. If you were creating a diary entry of creating a history from one of the entity records, we'll just set that as account management. If we put the, let's say 29th here as our start date and end date, and a type of telephone, and we'll just do a test diary text here. So what you can then do is hit save. That diary entry is then created obviously on your calendar, on your Outlook calendar, and then this page will load an update to show that you've got that diary entry. So you can see now against the 29th we've got this option here, or this diary entry here available, and if we click on view candidate, obviously that then opens up the candidate record, or the associated linked record to the diary entry, but in this example obviously it was the candidate. So what we've now got as well as that is when you're creating a diary entry, what you'll see is that there is a new diary entry type or history type that's been added here, and that will give you an overview of obviously that a diary entry was created against this candidate, who created it, and obviously the associated start time, end time, and the details about it as well. That will also happen now if you create a diary entry from the history method as well, using this option also. So and that will do it through all of the workflows that basically create diary entries as well. It's not a foolproof solution in terms of allowing you to be able to see diary entries that be created by other users, but it is an initial response with a view to a solution that we're looking to add further down the line in terms of being able to do that. So you have got against history logs now the means of diary entries being recorded, and against which user that those diary entries have been created against. So that's a step forward for us with regards to that. But that's the update we've made as part of this sprint. As always, if you have any queries or feedback, please get in touch. I'll be keen to hear from you. Also, for those using Colleague 7, feel free to submit your enhancement requests via the support team or directly to me using the above email address. The next video will be the sprint plan for 18.07.01, and as always that will contain a high-level overview on the items we intend to work on during this sprint. Thanks for watching.